Okay, let's try something. I want you to picture stepping back in time with us, right into a really tense moment on the American frontier. We're talking about a flashpoint, really, that sort of marked the end of one era of conflict in a pretty key location. Today, we're going back to July 17th, 1789, near what's now Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to unpack the story of the Chenoweth Massacre.
And what makes this particular event so significant, for understanding that period, is that historians often point to it as the last major Native American raid right there in present-day Louisville.
The last major raid, wow.
Yeah, it really signals this profound shift. It's like closing a really violent chapter in the frontier history of that specific area.
That's a heavy label, isn't it? Last major raid. It tells you this wasn't just some minor incident. It clearly had a real impact on how things developed there. So for this deep dive, we've been looking at a pretty detailed Wikipedia entry. It gives a concise but still quite vivid picture of what happened. And our goal today is really to dig into this pivotal but maybe not super well-known moment in frontier history. We want to pull out the details, the human stories, and, the lasting significance from the sources you've given us. Sort of a shortcut to understanding this dramatic chapter. Shall we jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so to really get a feel for that day, let's set the scene. We need to talk about Captain Richard Chenoweth's station.
He's a pretty important figure there, wasn't he? The builder of Fort Nelson.
Exactly. And his station, his sort of homestead, was located northeast of where Middletown is today, near Louisville. You have to understand, this wasn't like a big town or anything.
No, not at all. It was really just an isolated outpost, kind of a small pocket of settlement right on the edge of, what felt like endless wilderness back then.
And that isolation, I guess it's going to be important.
Oh, definitely. As we'll see, that isolation was a really critical vulnerability. The attack itself sounds like it was fast, devastating, and probably planned.
Who carried it out?
It was reportedly a large group of Native Americans. The sources suggest likely Shawnee warriors who'd come across the Ohio River, probably, using the cover of darkness or maybe early morning fog.
And the impact was immediate. It's stark reading about it. 3 of Chenoweth's own kids, Levi, Margaret, and Polly, they were killed right away.
Just horrific. But the violence didn't end there, did it?
No. The 2 soldiers who were guarding a nearby spring house, they weren't just killed. According to the accounts we have, they were actually ritually burned at the stake.
It paints such a brutal picture, doesn't it? The sheer ferocity of these conflicts on the frontier, it's hard to even imagine.
It really is. And, it makes you wonder how anyone could survive something like that. Which brings us to, I think, one of the most incredible parts of this story.
You mean Chenoweth's wife, Margaret, Peggy McCarthy?
Exactly. Amidst all that horror, she was hit. And not just grazed, she was pierced straight through the lungs by an arrow.
Just think about that. Through the lungs, in that era, with no modern medicine.
Yeah.
It's almost unbelievable she survived the wound itself.
Right. But her story gets even more intense. When one of the attackers came over to scalp her, she did something extraordinary.
She played dead.
Yeah. She feigned death. Can you imagine the presence of mind in that moment of terror and agony to lie perfectly still?
It's incredible courage.
Yeah.
And quick thinking under the absolute worst pressure imaginable. And even though she was actually scalped, she still managed to recover eventually.
What does that tell you? I mean, that level of endurance, it's almost superhuman.
It really is. It's a testament to just an incredible will to live, I think. And if we pull back a bit, look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The fact that Chenoweth Station was targeted, it really underscores that vulnerability we mentioned earlier. It's isolation.
Right. It wasn't close to the bigger settlements like Lynn Station or the Falls of the Ohio.
Exactly. It was out there on its own, which unfortunately made it a prime target. Easier to attack without immediate backup arriving. That constant danger, that risk assessment was just part of daily life.
So it shaped everything, where people settled, how they lived.
Absolutely. It forced settlers constantly to weigh that dream of land against the very real, very present danger. It definitely influenced how westward expansion happened, cluster by cluster, fort by fort.
That makes sense, that strategic vulnerability, that constant threat. It's key to understanding that whole period. But what I find really fascinating is that this place, this site of such tragedy, hasn't just vanished into history.
You mean the Chenoweth Fort Spring House?
Yeah. The actual structure, or what remains of it, where Chenoweth and his wife apparently took refuge after the main attack, it's still there.
It is. And it's not just some crumbling ruin nobody knows about. It's actually preserved. It's listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
Wow, really?
Yeah, which acknowledges its historical weight. And get this, there's even a photograph of it from way back in 1911, taken by tourists visiting the site.
Tourists in 1911, that tells you something, doesn't it? That even over 100 years ago, people felt this place was important, worth remembering, documenting.
It really does. It shows how these individual stories, even incredibly tragic ones like this massacre, become these anchor points in a region's memory. They solidify that collective understanding of the struggles, the costs, and, yeah, the resilience of frontier life.
So just to recap our deep dive here, we've looked at the Chenoweth Massacre itself, a really brutal frontier attack. We talked about that almost unbelievable survival story of Margaret Chenoweth.
Incredible resilience.
And the lasting legacy of the place itself, the Chenoweth Fort Spring House, still standing today.
And I think, this deep dive really serves as a stark reminder. The realities faced by settlers back then were incredibly harsh, constant danger, immense adversity, but also that remarkable human spirit. So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to consider is this. What does it actually mean that we preserve sites like the Chenoweth Fort Spring House? What does the continued remembering of these specific, often brutal events tell us about our collective need to grapple with and learn from even the toughest chapters of history? And maybe more broadly, how do these individual stories of intense loss, but also of profound courage, how do they keep shaping our understanding of who we are collectively? Our sense of national identity, our ideas about resilience even today.
Subscribe for more.